Welcome, Tulane families. My name is Penny Wyatt. I'm the Director of Family Programs at Tulane, and I'm so glad that you've joined us for tonight's webinar that is titled CAPS 101, an overview of counseling and psychiatric services at Tulane. So I am really pleased to introduce our speaker tonight. Jinaki Flint is the Director of Counseling and Psychological Services here at Tulane, and she will be presenting all the information. We want to give you an overview of services and also talk to you about what the limits of that are so that you can also hear about how CAPS also helps students connect with providers in the New Orleans community. And we wanted you to have this information at this point in the summer, so you still have several weeks to reflect on this information, think about what your student might need, and reach out so that you can help them have some continuity of care and not have a gap if they are getting regular counseling kind of care at this point. So at this point, I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Flint, and I will rejoin you at the end when it's time for your questions.
Okay, thank you, Penny. Greetings and congratulations on getting your scholar to and through college. CAPS is, we call it CAPS, Counseling and Psychiatric Services, or CAPS for short, is an inclusive, confidential space for all Tulane students to receive assistance for a variety of mental health concerns through a continuum of services that you can see here that promote positive mental and emotional wellness. Our work family includes a team of licensed and experienced professional providers, which includes psychologists, social workers, professional counselors, psychiatrists, and psychiatric nurse practitioners who provide same-day consultations, same-day urgent visits, individual short-term therapy, group therapy, which we will talk about in our communities, process, skills-based, and support groups. And we also have an extension of our arm where we go into the community and meet students where they are through our outreach and prevention efforts. And we also have care coordination, which is our referrals that Penny spoke to earlier, that we will definitely get more into so that if you have concerns or questions about how to get your student resourced, this is the area in which you can do that to link them to providers in the local community and also internal resources or campus resources. We also help students get resourced with various other entities if they stop here first. We also have medication consults and medication management appointments through psychiatry. And those therapy appointments are offered in person or virtually. So they can do this online with us or in person with us, or they can go through our third-party telehealth partner, Teladoc Mental Health Complete. And Mental Health Complete is a partner that we brought on in January of 2025. And they actually have been a very great partner to us, offering telehealth services for therapy, for psychiatry, as well as offering over 1,100 digital programs where students can kind of go in and do self-guided modules. They can do everything from meditation to psychoeducation to learn about various aspects of emotional and mental wellness. So we really love that. And we also have a crisis hotline called The Line, which is a 24/7 telephonic crisis hotline for students. And they are staffed by licensed professionals and other professionals who are in training to become licensed professionals. So we have a full suite of services here, as you can see. Okay, Penny. All right. So when we talk about what our scope of services are, so CAPS provides Tulane students with quality evidence-based, trauma-informed, and interculturally responsive mental health services. So in order to meet the significant student demands, we have we CAPS as a brief therapy model. And what that simply means is that it is a short-term goal oriented and goal focused on helping students to resolve and effectively manage a specific problem or challenge, or to make a particular desired change. Sessions are geared toward direct and active intervention to help students achieve those specific goals. So oftentimes you'll have a student, your student may come in and they may actually have some clinical need, or they may just need to resolve a stressor. Oftentimes, once that stressor is resolved, we don't see them anymore, and so which is great for us because it means, oh, you've gotten what you needed. And so we're here to help students really identify what the real need is and to walk with them to participate in that kind of goal setting goals for that. Really, the overarching piece for us is to help students achieve mental health literacy. Because if you can't name it or you don't know it, it seems super distressing. You can't get a handle on it. And in the emotional competence to empower them to become active architects of their college experience. They can participate in this. And we are definitely committed to advancing their well being through that process and ensuring that they're connected to other resources that, as I stated earlier. Sometimes the stressor is around, I need an accommodation. So let's help you get that. Sometimes the stressor is around, I don't fall within the scope, but I would really love to have be treated somewhere. Okay, let's do that. And one of the things that we do in our care coordination is to get them there. So, Penny, if you can go back to that slide and I can kind of read off what our concerns, the concerns within our short-term model are vast. You'll see our whole list of things that we cover, but these are things that we generally do: adjustment. Students often, especially first year students, have struggles with adjusting to making the transition into college, family distress, relationship concerns, any type of mild or moderate anxiety and depression, social skills. You may come and you may need to kind of learn how to mix and mingle and interact. Those are things that you can learn with psychoeducation. Perfectionism, overachieving, stress management, how to do that. And of course, teletherapy is within that model. Students get up to 12 sessions per year through us. And we say up to because oftentimes they don't really need it once a stressor has been resolved. And if we find that there is a need for ongoing, longer term, ongoing means you need to see us way more frequently, or you need treatment way more frequently, or you need something that is going on and on beyond the 12 session short term model. And then you would roll over to our care coordination and engage in our bridge care, which we will get to. Penny? Also, identity is in that model. As you can see, we have a lot of needs that we cover: grief, mild post-traumatic stress. Something will inevitably happen that will kind of jolt them into like, oh, whoa, this is new for me. Lots of new experiences happen when scholars are at college. Mild to moderate alcohol and other drug use, substance use, mild eating concerns. Sometimes it's really about educating around what that is. We have a dietitian here we work with our student health on the student health side. So we collaborate to meet the needs of the student as well. Academic distress, academic distress shows up a lot. And so we help them navigate what's in the way of that, everything from test anxiety to I'm not doing well, or I'm afraid that I might not do well. They can come and we can have discussions about and actually create some goals around medication management. That's the psychiatry piece. But also, this is where we do a lot of health work too. So we have full collaboration with our campus health unit, where we work with doctors on our student health side, because sometimes it's not just about the medication. It may be that that student may be struggling with something that has a biological origin. And so we tend to work with, collaborate with each other to really make sure that we're looking at the student holistically, and we're not just saying, oh, let's just see what medication does. We want to really make sure that student is overarchingly healthy. And then, of course, body image. We often look at body image concerns, which are very separate, can be separate from eating concerns. Oftentimes, we have students that come in that have concerns around how they look, and those are also that also create a situation where they would come to CATS, and we can help them process through that. Okay, Penny, next slide. Now, these are services that are outside of our scope. We don't do couples therapy. This usually is really big for graduate students, so but we don't offer it. Any long-term one-to-one treatment, so things that the student may need from freshman year to senior year, just ongoing, that falls outside of our scope of care. And we say scope of care for a reason. And we'll get to that. I'll read through these. Any testing, we don't yet have a testing and assessment for like ADHD, but we do have providers in the area that we work with. Any severe eating concerns or substance use, that will get referred. Any chronic suicidality or self-harming behaviors, self-injurious behaviors is outside of our scope. Any serious and persistent mental illness like bipolar disorder falls outside of that. We do not do emotional support animals. So we, and we often get requests for that, but we do not write letters for that. Or mandated treatment. So no one can call us and say the student must be treated here. Students have autonomy to be treated at CATS or not. And the reason why these are all outside of our scope is because these are all issues that cannot be managed in a short-term model. And so it actually is not the best care. So as clinical licensed providers, we do have to exercise our clinical judgment and make sure that students are properly cared for. And sometimes the best care isn't what we offer here. Next slide. Okay. So as you saw, the scope of our clinical services are vast. We can still, even with this, operate with a broad range of student concerns. We have personal concerns from stress, anxiety, anger, loneliness. That's a big piece now. It's been that way for a while. We actually had the Surgeon General some years ago do a whole piece on loneliness, the loneliness epidemic. And we have collaborated campus wide to be able to do programming and initiatives to help students connect to each other. Low self-esteem, grief, relationship concerns. Oftentimes there's roommate conflict, and that may be so overwhelming, the student will come in distress, and we can teach them everything from assertiveness skills to referring them to back to some other entity within campus life, within housing and res life, and helping them get properly resourced to be able to manage through that. Any type of social life, sometimes students come in with social anxiety. We understand that developmental concerns, any type of identity, adjusting, healthy lifestyle choices. And like I said, those things, all of these range of services that students may be concerned about, these will take us being able to work with students in this kind of goal-focused, goal-oriented, strengths-based care, but we also collaborate. And that's something that I want everyone to know, is that this is a process that happens here, but we also are very mindful that the student is not just a one-off being, that there are many factors that may be at play for a student, and that we need to see students holistically. So the academic concerns, which we talked about earlier, performance anxiety, perfectionism, learning how to organize and plan. We can connect with other people like success center, success coaching. While we manage the anxiety part, we can say, hey, have you been over there to success coaching to learn how to plan for study? And so that's how we tend to work together and help the student get effectively resourced so that whatever the stressor is, we are helping to manage that in tangible, pragmatic ways and also in this kind of health way, medical or um, mental health or emotional wellness ways as well. So, other concerns are the effects of trauma. An accident may have happened that caused some type of trauma. We can work with that as long as it's kind of mild. If we work to mild to moderate trauma, assault, abuse, body image, and mild eating concerns. So, just to wrap it up, within scope, it's going to be anything mild to moderate on these suicidal ideation, self-injurious, medication management and teletherapy. Those that fall outside of the scope will be everything from couples to mandates for treatment. And those we will refer out to our care coordinator. Now, next slide, please. What does our care coordination do? Exactly. You've heard me say that several times. So, one of the things is this holistic resourcing that I've been talking about and our flex care. And so, flex care simply is a holistic resourcing model that we have. So, if a student comes in, your scholar, and there is a need for, say, I need an accommodation. Through our conversation and goal setting, we figure out that, oh, yes, this is definitely what the need is. But sometimes a scholar will come in and they need something a lot more intense than we can provide. And then we offer guidance to the student about, okay, based on what you said, here's what we recommend as a treatment option for you. Now, that doesn't mean we just say, here's a list of referrals, go on about your business. It doesn't work that way for us. One of the things that we really truly care about as a student-centric center is that we know where our students are if they're making contact with us. And so we established something called Bridge Care. So that is basically student support, coaching, and psychoeducation as we are transitioning them to a provider within the local community. So we have through this care coordination, we vet providers. We have a whole system set up where we talk to providers. We have listings of providers that we work with. And we talk to the student about how to ask about insurance, how to go in and what they should be thinking about in terms of therapy. What does it mean to add? What questions could they ask a provider? Psychoeducation on like if it's over anxiety or stress, just to get them through the stressful moment, how to manage, how to build distress tolerance. Oftentimes students just don't know what to call it. They don't know what to name it. So they're just in this distress and they can't tolerate it. So they end up doing all kinds of things just to be able to get away from that awful feeling. And so sometimes we will educate and provide tools as we're waiting. In the meantime, we are helping them to call the person, helping them to talk to the new provider. We're not talking to them because of confidentiality, of course, but they are having a conversation. And until that, once they get an appointment scheduled with that person and we know that they're going to be meeting it, then we say, okay, this is our last session. Are there any other concerns that you may need to address before you go into this new treatment area? And usually the students don't have anything by that time because they get like up to 4 sessions where we're just coaching and supporting. And then they're off to the next provider. And so when they do come in, and our providers, we consider part of our collaborative group too. They're in the local community, but they are a part of our care family. And so once we know that they're in the local community, part of that extended care family, then we know, okay, we know the student is there. And so if someone says, hey, did you see that? What happened to that student? Oh, that student was able to get referred into the local community X, Y, and Z if the student has decided that we can share that information. Because if we don't have paperwork, we're not talking about the student. But oftentimes it will happen where a student will say, hey, I need you to talk to someone on my behalf, and then they will sign a release of information and we will do that. So that same day consultation is another thing that we're very proud of for students. We're kind of one of the holdouts on a same day consultation. My colleagues at other universities are like, "How are you doing that?" But we have managed it over the years, which something I think we implemented during COVID because we had a lot of students that were in a lot of distress. And so we increased our volume. So that same day consultation means there's no wait time. The student can come in and say, hey, you know what? I think I might need therapy. I'm not quite sure. Or they may come in and say, my friend might need therapy, and I'm not quite sure if they do or not. We have a consultation. It's a 30-minute consultation where we can kind of just talk about what's happening, discuss treatment options, assess safety, etc., and give some informed consent, and then figure out what we're doing with the student. There's also therapy fit in there. So what's the fit? Usually we ask students if we can, if they have a preference, we will ask them about a preference. We can't always guarantee it, but we certainly do ask. And then referrals would be a part of that if needed. And also the holistic resourcing referrals as well, not just the external therapy partners that we have in the community. Also, treatment options. There are various treatment options. You can do a CAPS community, which is our group work. You can just come to CAPS. You can get referred out. Oftentimes, students also ask us for an outside referral, or they do the teletherapy piece, which really guarantees students this kind of other support as well. And it provides a lot of continuity of care because the one thing about the Mental Health Complete that is really beautiful is that they have therapists all over the country. And so when students are on like winter break, as long as they're enrolled in Tulane and they have, they have all the, if they're eligible for CAPS, they're eligible for Mental Health Complete. And so this really helps students out a lot when they go home for break because they have to leave us because most of us have licenses only in a few states or just the one state of Louisiana. But once they are connected to Mental Health Complete, they can actually look up online, look them up and see if there's a therapist that is operating in their home state. And they can actually use that therapist while they're away for like winter break or a summer break. And so it really helps us keep that care going for students. Okay, next. All right. So that is pretty much the kind of overview of counseling and psychiatric services or CAPS here. Open it up now for questions.
And while you're typing your questions, I'll just show that that email address, carecoordinator@tulane.edu. Can you tell them, Janaki, how
Yeah,
what kind of information should they put in an email if they want to reach
yeah.
out about that?
Please put in what your insurance provider, that is super critical, and also what your scholar's needs are. Is it psychiatry or therapy or both? Sometimes it's both. And what you need. Do you need someplace for and what the actual, if you know it, the clinical concern is. If your student has been diagnosed with something, we'll need to know that because we want to pull out the exact provider. Like if your student has depression, we certainly wouldn't send you to someone who specializes in anxiety. So those are the top three things, is to make sure that we know what the insurance is, make sure that we know what the clinical concern is, and if there is a medication component.
And Janaki, I'll just mention here, you've got the two different locations that CAPS has, but I'll just state that, for the audience that we have tonight, those are the parents of incoming first year students, and those students will be on the Uptown campus, but our downtown location serves the students who are in Tulane's medical school, School of Social Work, School of Public Health and Tropical Medicine. And there is shuttle transportation between our two campuses. Do you ever have undergraduate students who attend, classes on the Uptown campus go to the downtown location?
Um, Sometimes if there is a situation where a senior may live nearby or something like that, but that's quite rare
Okay.
unless you're doing work, or sometimes there's students doing bench work down there. So which is research work.
Uh-huh.
The graduate students are doing that type of work there. So every now and then we will get an
Okay.
undergraduate that will show up down there, and they will use teletherapy down there too.
Okay. So I
So
just wanted these parents to kind of understand that for the most part, those these students are going to be accessing services at the Uptown location. So that
yeah,
Diebold complex.
predominantly uptown. Yes.
Yeah. And so families, if you ever parked in the parking garage at Tulane, that's the Diebold complex. So that first floor houses, and one big part of it has the CAPS office, and the other part is the TUPD office. So it's right across from the Riley Center, which is the recreation center. So we have a couple of questions that I'll pose to you, Janaki. Um, is all of this a free service provided by the university, or is this done through our students' medical insurance?
Actually, neither. This service is coming from, well, I mean, that part is yes and no. It is a free service, yes, and no, it's not coming from the insurance. It actually is paid with by the students' student health fee.
Right.
And so that comes out of that. We do not bill, even at this point, our psychiatry doesn't bill for now. I don't know what that will look like in the future, but right now we do not bill as of today. But we won't bill for therapy either way. So no, it comes out of the student health fee. And like I said, students get those up to 12 sessions. Oftentimes we try to explain this to students as, if your goal is met, please don't pathologize yourself into more sessions, because it doesn't really make sense if your goal is met. And it's not really ethical for us to just say, okay, well, I'm going to hold you because you need to get your 12 sessions, because they roll over every year anyway. And if something happens that the student needs to come back to us, we are right here. Right. So seldom will we be like, oh no, you can't come back, So that's not really how we operate. And the national average really is like 4 to 6 sessions anyway, if you're really doing great goal focused therapy with students. Students are very they're very smart about it. If you're doing the work, and they're feeling they're starting to feel back into themselves, and they're able to function, improve functioning and improve mood, you don't really see them the whole 12 sessions.
So the next question is, could you please talk about Louisiana licensing laws and if it's possible for an out-of-state provider to continue providing services to the student via telehealth? Is there a bridge license for existing patients?
Well, it depends on what profession it is. Like I know APA now, the American Psychology Association, they have something called PsyPAC. And Louisiana has just come on board with PsyPAC, but that won't be in effect until like 28. So as of now, no one from out of the state of Louisiana should be conducting therapy in the state of Louisiana without a Louisiana license. And or no one in the state of Louisiana should be conducting therapy, even teletherapy, outside of the state of Louisiana. The beauty of having mental health complete is that their therapists have licenses in all different states. And so that's what makes that a more viable option when the student is not in the state of Louisiana.
The next question is, does medication management include stimulants for ADHD, and will the on-campus pharmacy fill those prescriptions?
Yes, they will. Yes, and yes. The mental health complete cannot prescribe those. The teletherapy partner, they cannot prescribe Schedule Ones, which are those stimulants, but we certainly do here at CAPS.
So those are the questions we've received so far. So participants, I'll just give you another prompt that if you have any other questions that you would like Jinaki to answer now, please type those in. And we'll wait just a little bit longer. And the other thing that I would just like to say as a colleague of all of these great staff members who work at CAPS is that they're working with students one-on-one, but they also do all these great educational efforts and outreach kinds of things. And so there may be students who've never had any kind of counseling in the past, but they'll start learning about what's offered, and they'll also see these kind of things that are educational programming and outreach efforts so that they can also learn about how they might manage some of these different things on their own or with some, support from CAPS, but it might not even look like, individual one-on-one therapy. So they're still assisted in many ways by CAPS. And then also our CAPS staff, as Jinaki mentioned earlier, they consult and refer to other entities on campus. And so there's a really strong network among those different types of helpers on campus. And so even if your student is not quite sure, hasn't quite defined or zoned in on exactly what help they need, these wonderful staff members are so well versed in all of those different modalities and the kinds of support that are offered by their colleagues in other departments. They can help steer the student to the best place for them. So here's another couple of questions. Can you speak about medication management for students bringing their meds to school?
It depends. So, if they're bringing in meds and they have a person that they're working with, then they should stick to the person that they're working with, if it's possible. If they're working with a doctor, an MD, then if they're actually getting meds from the person, they can continue to get meds from the person. If they want to establish care with CAT psychiatry, they can do that. They will just have to undo that other relationship. And I always say, please do not wait till you run out of medication. Please tell your scholar this to come into CAPS, because our wait list during busy season can be a little lengthy. And so if the student is fresh out of medication, there won't be a lot we can do. And so make sure that it went as soon as you know that you may want to establish care. I would do that. If you think you're going to establish care at CAPS, I would call now and try to work through our care coordinator to see if you can, if you're enrolled or registered in the fall, you can call us. And if you get pushback on that, you can tell them to call Dr. Flint. They know what it means. And so if you want to go ahead and start doing that through care coordination, you can also do that. Because as soon as you know, we want to know so that we know to expect what's coming. But if your scholar already has care, and they have managed care already, then that's where you want to stay, you certainly can. But if you already have managed care and you say, hey, I'm at school, it's just easier for me to get it done here, depending on what's happening, like if it's, as long as it's not like a serious or persistent mental illness like bipolar disorder or something like that, if they're just like doing maintenance, certainly bring them in. We really would prefer it, actually, because oftentimes we do see students who they forget because they're busy, and then they run out of medications, and then it's harder for them to get on our calendar, our schedule. So if you believe that you would like to have care here, yes, definitely you are invited.
And Janaki, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there a part of the CAPS website that addresses all of that
Yes,
medication
it does.
information?
Yes,
And
we have it.
so,
The psychiatry. Yes. So you can actually go to our website, just type in Tulane Counseling and Psychiatric Services, it pops right up. Or Tulane CAPS, it'll still pop up. Um, and there's FAQs, so there's like frequently asked questions around this. We actually have had a big psychiatry push for students because what we learned was that a lot of students will come to campus and they have limited, sometimes limited ADLs, which is like activities of daily living, because they're used to other people like just kind of servicing because they've been adolescents, children before, and now they're kind of moving into late adolescence and early emerging adulthood. And so, what we've done to ensure that they can actually have more agency and move around is to teach them about what does a prescription mean, everything from how to read your medicine bottle, like what do these words mean here, what does this amount mean in terms of your quantity, how to send in your prescription, what to expect when you send it in. Oftentimes, a student will send in a prescription, and or the prescription will get filled, and then they just won't go get it, and then they didn't understand at first that that pharmacy will send it back. And so then they're like, oh my God, I don't have my meds. Now I'm out. And so we put together a whole campaign around really educating students about what to expect when they come into psychiatry. And those are the little things that really create a lot of distress for students if they forget, they're busy, and to remind them not to forget it, make sure they understand it so that they can plan for it.
and I would say that would also be a good thing for a parent to kind of do some tutorial, with their student, in the next few weeks,
Yes.
kind of
Mhm.
review that with your students so that
Excellent
you can
idea.
kind of help them get to understand that more since you won't be there to be managing that for them. And so they need
Right.
to take some more ownership of that and have a better understanding of it. So it's a good
Mhm.
thing to put on your checklist, for these next couple of weeks.
And
Um,
if you forget, we will do it. And we will do it. That's one of the things we love to do is educate students about navigating healthcare systems.
so another question is that at a campus visit, I believe this is what the person means. It was mentioned that sometimes it can take 2 weeks when school starts to talk to someone if a student's having trouble adjusting. Perhaps I heard this wrong, they said, but could you address this?
This is why we have the same day consultations. Uh, the student, there should usually, I think you may have heard that probably about psychiatry, because sometimes it does take 2 to 3 weeks in our busy season for psychiatry. But for therapy, no. And especially just to get a few questions answered, we have the student can literally walk in the same day. The only time it may roll over is if the student comes in at like 4 p.m. and we already have all of our blocks taken, and then it'll be the first thing that next morning. So it will never be 2 weeks. And if that student has been told 2 weeks, please ask them to have the person call me, Dr. Flint.
So another question is, how do students become the support peers? My student was a peer helper throughout middle school and high school and might be interested in this.
Okay, we have Tulane University peer health educators over in student health, and we also have the sexual assault peer health educators. So we have really large peer groups here that do a lot of really phenomenal work. And most of the toughs, some of them will be working with us because they do have a mental health component in there. So we're starting to ramp up on our work with them this year. But they are housed in our health promotion department over in student health. So if your student is interested in doing work with toughs, that's what we call them, or SAFEs, they can actually call student health and ask for health promotion. And the associate director there is Dr. Natasha Bird, BYRD, and talk to her about joining in. We
And
love
so
our tough
that's,
here. So
and
please send your scholar.
right. So tough is TUPHE
Yeah.
for Tulane University Peer
Please.
Health Educator, and
Yes.
SAFE is SAFE
PH.
PHE for sexual assault and peer
Health educator.
health educator. Now, one thing that students can do is that a couple of weeks into each semester, there's a student activities fair, and it's held in the campus recreation center. And so all of the leaders from those different student organizations will have information tables. And so it's one place that a student can kind of walk in and explore lots of different opportunities within, one space. But then the students also have access to a platform that has all of that information about different student organizations. So it's kind of a directory of student organizations, and it's also a calendar. And so that's called Wave Sync. Since we're the green wave, we use Wave for a lot of different nicknames for different things. So that platform is called WaveSync. And so students may not have started to use that yet, but as soon as they get to campus, that'll be something they're learning about. And so they can use it both as a directory to look up different organizations and see who the leaders are and what their activities will be, and that kind of thing. But then it also serves as this really flexible, comprehensive event calendar, and they can even sort it by the kinds of things they're interested in. So they can just look day to day to see everything that's on offer, or they can sort that according to topics and look, zero in on the things they're most interested in. So there's a lot of effort at the very beginning of the year to promote those different kinds of opportunities for students. For those things that are those peer educator kind of roles, there is really extensive training, and some of it is sort of a foundation that all peer helpers at Tulane get, because there's sort of that foundation experience and skill building that they need, kind of no matter how they apply that peer helping mode. And so they also learn a lot about what other peer helpers on campus are doing. So it's a really um, strong
Yeah.
effort at Tulane. So
Very
we're
much so.
really proud of that. So,
Very so.
any last questions? I'll make a last call and we'll see if there are any questions. So again, if you think of something later, then please reach out. You see the phone number here, you see that email address, and we appreciate your tuning in tonight and joining us for this presentation. And I just want to thank Dr. Flint for being here and providing all this good background information to help these families know what's on offer, so that if their students are going to make use of these services, they have really good information to get started in the fall. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so much, everyone.